Perfect. Can you see it? Does it work for you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you everyone for being here. Uh, it's a great pleasure for me actually to be presenting to you. I'd like just to remind you all that if I look up a little bit, just because I'm trying to see the chat as well. So this is it. And also, I really need to say that sometimes when I'm going to present, I like to have people interact. So I know sometimes we don't want to interact, but you don't worry. You don't necessarily need to open your microphone or anything. You just need to send me things in the chat, and we can have this. So I just want to start with one thing really quick. So if you want to participate, just send the number in the chat. Just so let me know, so I see how many people are probably going to participate. Like just a number 1, 2, 3. I don't know, like any number. Okay, great. Now I know how Polly feels when people are trying to guess how many newcomers we have. This is nice. So let me actually start, right? So as Eduardo said, my name is João Fequete. I'm a back-end engineer. I'm doing my internship here at Avenue Code. And today I'm going to be focusing on communication and mainly helping and asking for help, which for me is a very important topic. And I hope by the end of this presentation, this gets a little bit more serious for you too, right? So we are going to go through basically 6 topics, and we can divide a little bit into why communication is important and communication as a whole. But also I'd like to try and help you with some more concrete things, some things you can apply to your routine and that might help you maybe tomorrow, maybe today, or maybe in a week, I don't know. Because I really feel that you need to take something from this which you can apply directly on your life, right? And the most important thing for me, at least, when I was thinking about this presentation was, why am I going to talk about this? Why is this important, right? And actually, it comes from something I heard actually from another person. So one day I was actually talking to a tech lead, and we were discussing about something else. And he was typing to someone else while we were talking, and he just said something like, "Oh, you're a senior developer. You should know how to communicate properly," as if he was a little without that. Not about him exactly, but he was expecting the other person to have this communicative skill, and the other person didn't. So this comment reminded me that actually, even in contexts in which we are supposed to expect some more communication skills from other people, there is still a lack of this skill. And I really think we should try and have this more effective in our daily life. So I said, you know what? Maybe I can help with that. And today, that's what I'm trying to do here, right? But okay, yeah, I said my motivation. But then we can talk about the importance of the communication itself. Why is it important to have an assertive communication, right? There are basically 3 things which are kind of simple, and I think we can start from this. So communication and communicating right helps us with time, right? We are trying to deliver as much as we can. We are trying to do the best we can to do as many things as we can in our day, so we have more delivery, we generate more value, and we know that an assertive communication, it's less time consuming, and that's true. So you don't waste as much time as you would if you were just communicating without paying attention to that, right? So we are going to have more time if we do this. Also, it's about effort. And here, I don't know how many of you were in the presentation yesterday from Jimmy, and Jimmy was talking about actually the balance about working and your daily life. And there was a moment in which he said about our energy. And he said something about like, when you're discussing with someone, sometimes you use a lot of energy and sometimes you drain the energy from others. And it connected directly to this. When you have an assertive communication, it consumes less energy from the other and from you, right? And at the end of the day, this is probably going to help you go home feeling a little better, or with a little bit more energy than you would if you had just not a good communication at all, right? And the third, but not less important, is rapport. And I think by now you probably heard this word many times this week, because it's an important word. And I bring the same thing as the others, which is the definition from the dictionary, which is the rapport is an agreement or sympathy between people or groups. And this is really important if we think about helping and asking for help. I mean, in our daily life, we ask for help many times because we cannot do everything by ourselves. And you got to say that every time you help someone, it's probably because you care about the person. You have the sympathy, you have some empathy for the person. So if you're not communicating and generating this with the other person, probably you're not going to have the best help you would, all right? So we have to keep that in mind as we go through the presentation, right? And here I go to the experiment, the part where I told you I really, really want you to participate, right? And this is a quite simple experiment. I want you to try and help me here, which is just a question, all right? We are going to pretend we are going to ask for help, and I want you just to write what you think, okay? So the question is, what is this? But hold on. This is just a blue screen so far, but now I have this. What is this? What comes to your mind when you see this? What's going on? Please, just anything. What do you think when you see this person? It's running. Yeah, this person is running. All right. Can we disappear? Fear. All right. Afraid of something. Yes, fear. Okay. This great. Yeah, that's the way. All right. Running away from something. Okay. This is a little bit more elaborate. Yes. Hot fix maybe. But now let's have more information. What about now? What's happening? The person is on fire. Yes, and it's not in a great sense, right? He's not delivering everything. He's literally on fire. But now I want you to help. He's asking you for help. How do you help someone on fire? Please, how the person is literally on fire. How do you help this person? Any ideas? Water. You have yes, bucket of water. Yes, water is really good, but now you have more context, and actually it's a fire from an outlet. What's the problem? If you have studied before, you should never throw water on an outlet, right? You might kill the other person. You might end up causing more trouble than if you just had done nothing, right? Nothing at all. So this is exactly what I'm trying to say about communication, right? Sometimes we see someone running, we see a problem, or we need help, and we just tell to the other person, I'm running away, but you don't tell the person you're on fire. And sometimes you tell to the person, oh, I'm on fire, I need something to help me here, but you don't let the person know why this is happening. And maybe by trying to solve your problem, the person might end up killing you. I don't know. I think in our work environment, this is not as applicable, right? But you understand the idea. Even if you don't catch fire at the office, I hope so, I hope you don't. Still in our daily life, we have problems. And sometimes by miscommunicating, we might try to find the wrong answer, and we might not have what we need for that moment, right? So with this example, and I want you to keep that, to bear that in mind throughout the presentation, we can go to oral communication, which is something most people are afraid, because sometimes it's even harder for us to speak English than just writing English. So let's start from there, all right? And I'm not going to necessarily talk about English itself for now. We can think about strategies, right? So let's suppose you're asking for help. What do you have to have on your mind to be effective when doing that, right? And one thing we cannot live without is preparation, all right? Whenever you're going to ask for help or give help to someone, it's important that you prepare yourself, and not only by saying, okay, I'm going to speak English, so it's important for me to warm up, to say some words in English, to make it better, but also prepare your setup, all right? Sometimes, I don't know, you're a developer, you want to show a bug to someone, and you just waste 10 minutes of their time just opening your IDE, just opening the program. Please do not do that. Think about sympathy, empathy again, all right? Prepare everything. So when the person starts helping you, you just say, oh, just wait a minute. Here, I'm sharing my screen. This is a problem. I'm showing you this, this, and that. And it's much more easy, and it consumes less time. Remember, all the time, everything we are going to talk about, it's going to come from the motivation, from the reasons why we are doing that. So preparation, less time consuming, right? More efficient. And also, together with that, create a roadmap. All right, let's suppose, and here I'm using a lot of examples from the hard technical skills, because that's what I have on a daily basis, right? But you can think about this for your environment, for your work. And sometimes we are stuck. We are doing something for over 2 days, 3 days, and we cannot continue, and we need help, right? So what are you going to do? Are you going to ask the other person to spend 3 days just thinking about the problem, just going through everything you went just to get where you are? No, you should not. Why not? Because you need to be more efficient. The other person doesn't have that time. So you, as someone who is asking for help, it's important for you to think about what's essential for this person to understand what my problem is, what's the reason, what I've done, and only the important parts to get there. And this is something you need to practice. You're going to try, and the more you do, the better it gets, the easier it gets, right? And last but not least important, don't take anything for granted. Oh, but I'm going to ask to the person who developed this. The person was here when it first started. They know everything about this. Maybe not. Maybe they forgot something, right? So even if you're asking someone who is most likely sure to have this information, make sure, ask the question. Do you remember this? Do you have the context for this? Sometimes it's been a long time, the other person doesn't see that, and they are going to have to remember some things, right? So have that. Now, what about me? I'm trying to help the other person. It's easy. No, it's not. It's important for you to practice some skills. One of them being active listening, right? And here, I know active listening is such a deep topic, but you don't need that for now. If you just want to ask for help or give help, if you just think about the broad sense of active listening, it's already enough for you to have some help to the other person. And what I mean by that, what's the broad sense of active listening? Do not interrupt the other person. Pay attention to what they are saying. Respect what they are saying, right? Just simple things, which are not necessarily really hard to do. You just need to, hey, think about it, okay? Pay attention and care. If you care for what the other person is saying, you're probably going to practice active listening directly. Together with that, ask questions, all right? Before trying to answer anything or giving just the help to the other person, ask for questions for clarification. Sometimes the other person thought you knew something and you don't. So ask questions. And sometimes I can tell you that. Sometimes you ask just a simple question to the other person and they realize the solution just by your question, not by your answer, right? So you just ask, have you tried this? And maybe that's exactly what the person haven't tried. So ask questions to make sure you're following everything the other person is doing, right? And last but not least, do not take anything for granted as well, right? And this is important for someone who's helping, because most of the time, the person who is helping is the person holding the knowledge, right? Is the person, if someone asks you for help, it's because they believe you have something they don't, right? So if you hold this information, make sure you try to pass it on, right? And do not take for granted that the other person already knows some of that. And make sure you ask again, oh, do you know this or that? And here is like something we usually tend to forget, but it's also important, is that if you hold the knowledge, usually you hold the power. So make sure you do not make the other person feel worried about not knowing something, right? If you just keep asking them, oh, but you know this, right? But you know that, right? And the person is insecure, the person has a problem, the person is looking for you to have the solution, and you make them feel guilty about not knowing something. So make sure you show some empathy when you ask questions. You just say, you know that, it's okay if you don't, but I need to know if you are up to date with this, so we can continue, and have that on your mind, right? Keeping on. About written communication, and this is something I really think you can apply to your daily life, all right? Because it's more structured. Writing, it's usually easier because you have more time. You usually think about it. You can do many things while you're typing, right? So let's have some examples. Start from an example. And here again, I'm going to ask you to interact a little bit, okay? So we have two messages, the first one and the second one. Just let me know which one you think it's better, okay? I'm going to read it for you. So the first one, Mark, can you help me with issue 1444, SQL errors? Yeah. And the second one, hi, Mark, please let me know when you have some free time. I'm currently working on issue 1444, which is about SQL script for the car database. I tried updating some values and I'm getting error 672. Do you think you could help me go through the code and understand what's happening? Which one would you like to receive if you were about to help that person? Number two, I'd prefer to. Yeah, me too. Me too. You say me too, too. Yeah. Okay. Yes, the second one is better. But is it because it's longer? Not necessarily. Just one thing first. No hello, all right? If you have some time, just go for this website later, which is no hello. It's just an initiative for why you should never just say like, hello, and leave the chat, all right? Go directly to what your problem is, just say what you need, and the other person is going to help you. It doesn't mean you have to greet the other person, but greet and say what you want, okay? But going back to the messages, does it mean that I just need to throw a lot of information? I'm going to send like 2 pages long question to the other person. No, it's not about that. It's about knowing what you need to send the other person. If we analyze the second message, we can divide it into four sections, right? We have the greeting, which is normal for everyone, but then we have an introduction in purple, right? Pink, purple. You have an introduction because you're stating, okay, this is the reason why I'm asking you for help. I'm sending you. If you read these 2 first lines, you see why I'm here. The second part, which is the yellow one, is exactly giving some evidence, all right? You're telling the person, oh, I tried this. I'm not just coming to you because I have this problem. I've tried that. That's some of the context we have, right? And the last thing we have is the question, is the conclusion. So this is why I'm here. I give you why I asked you. I give you the context of the problem I have. So can you help me? That's the conclusion. That's what I'm trying to get, right? And this is a structure that's very good for written text. Basically, if you see it everywhere, you see it on articles, on newspapers, on anywhere, even in a paragraph, you have that, right? So if you're trying to structure what you're asking the other person, make sure you introduce, you give some evidence, some of the information, and you have a conclusion. At the end, when the person finishes reading your question, they know what they have to worry about. They know how they can prepare themselves to help you, right? Because if you don't give any context, how would they know if they can help you or not? Sometimes they don't even know what car database is, all right? So make sure you give enough information, but not too much, right? Okay, so now let's go for a long message. I'm going to read a book with you. No, I'm not. I'm just going to show you this image, but it goes with the same idea of the short message, right? We have the pink, the yellow, and the blue one. Let's suppose you're going to write an email, right? An email is just a big paragraph in which you divide your ideas. So basically, you follow the same structure. You start giving an introduction, you give some evidence, and at the end, you conclude. And this is structure you're going to find everywhere, in a long book, in a short book, in an email, or in a paragraph, right? Keep that on your mind, and I'm sure you're going to do well next time you write to someone a message, right? So let's get to the conclusion. I see the time is finishing. And as I told you at the beginning of the presentation, I need you to leave this presentation with at least one thing you can apply to your life. So if in the oral communication you don't prepare yourself, you don't do a roadmap or anything, that's okay. It would help. You see what the technique is. If in the written text you don't structure it in a good manner, in a good size, that's okay. It's up to you, but you see there's also a way. But if there's one thing you can take with you today, is this kind of graph I did, okay? I made it up. It's something I created. Is it right? I hope so. It's at least something that has helped me so far. It's an XY axis, right? And basically, there's a simple idea here, which is, and I'm going to use the laser that. We have effort and we have comprehensibility. And the more effort you put into trying to communicate, the more comprehensible your message is going to be. So it doesn't matter if you're talking to the person, if you're writing the person, or if you're doing anything. The more effort you put into that, into making it better, the easier it's going to be to the other person. And if you're just tired, you say, you know what, I don't care how much time the other person is going to take to read my text. Remember, maybe in the future it's going to be you having someone writing a big, long, weird text to you that makes no sense. That's going to drain your energy out, right? So let's share that, let's try, and let's make an effort, right? If not for us, for the others. That's it. Thank you all.
So let's open for questions now. Is there anyone that wants to come over and ask João some questions, some concerns, some thoughts? Love it. Thanks for the talk, João.
Guys.
Amazing, really great presentation. I think Carolina wants to say something. Please.
I'll raise my hand. I was trying to try the emoji, but thank you, Joe. It was really great. Your presentation, I think, brought a lot of insight for us, especially because our main communication is through chats and with people. So we really need to narrow down a perfect communication while we're writing one. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for the compliments. It happened to me the same thing about the raising hand stuff and the emoji.
It's a new thing.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for pointing out about sometimes when you don't feel safe in an environment, when someone is telling you, oh, you know that, right? Like you should have known that or something. I think that I thought I was the only one who felt insecure about that until now. Now I notice like, oh, it's not my issue. It's actually the person communicating to me needs some better communication skills. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Communicating is an act of two or more people, right? So it's never only about us. It always involves others as well.